What is up, guys? Teddy Cornwell here. Welcome to the Underdog Talk, the world's most underrated podcast on earth. And there's something about the underdog, but there's something about the apex predator himself. I mean, you've seen this man on the podcast before. You've seen him on stage. You've seen
3 times.
You've seen him on the podcast 3 times. You've seen a warrior on stage. And, Kerrith Bajjo, everyone. Kerrith, thank you for coming on the podcast today, man. I'm looking forward to always chatting bodybuilding with you. One of the best in the game. And, yeah, man, how you been? Obviously, Olympia, 2 weeks post-Olympia. You come fourth in the world, which is no small feat, obviously, when we talk about fourth in the world in all 212. We got to put that in perspective. And every year, like we were talking about off air, the conditioning is becoming better. The stage presence is becoming better. And like you mentioned, that's all you can ask for. Kerrith, what are the thoughts kind of post Mr. Olympia, post Mr. Olympia 2024?
Well, before we get into all that, Teddy, pull it back a little bit. I got to say, big shout out to my guy, Teddy Cornwell, for doing his damn thing. One of the best podcasters in the game. So let me return all the accolades to you, bro. Because a lot of people try to do this and you've seen it, they wash out. So kudos to you on learning how to pivot, and you made it bigger than just bodybuilding, which is really, really cool, because, hey, listen, I'm bodybuilding's biggest fan, but at the end of the day, we need other lanes, right? We talk about bodybuilding all the time. Bodybuilding is going to get boring. So thank you for creating a creative space that, athletic minds can turn to.
Athletic minds, I like that.
All right. So, and, there's a lot of entertainment in there. I'm going to keep it light. My girl's downstairs. There is a lot of entertainment in there, and that's cool too. So kudos to you for, I'm sorry?
You talking about entertainment on the podcast?
Oh, your adult entertainment on the podcast.
No. We dabbled in that, and then we dabble in Hall of Famers, and we dabble in. Yeah, no, I mean that was one stage we did Underdog Talk, and I know you know all about that. So no, he's spot on about that.
Hey, listen. I'm just here for the articles. But yeah, end of the day, dude, you guys have definitely learned to pivot, and that is so cool, man. So all the success and prosperity going forward, and thank you again for having me on for the 3rd time. But to answer your question, this year was a hell of a year, dude. A lot of adversity, just it caused me to pivot, but at the same time, I learned a lot about myself and, just about my how can I really put this? But, my stubbornness, my drive, the things that really push me, and that was something that I wasn't sure I still had, but this year taught me like, oh, that shit didn't go nowhere, and to further reinforce that, the Olympia was 2 weeks ago. I always had a plan to do Japan. And it finally happened. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to go to Japan. We're going to extend the season. We're going to try and get an early qualifier so we get some time off and we could go into the 2025 Olympia fresh.
And normally, would this be, do you obviously normally do shows this close to the Olympia or after the Olympia, or is this kind of your first, qualifier post-Olympia that's so close to obviously the Olympia that just happened, Kerrith? What's your normal game plan, or are you and Coach kind of changing up for this one?
Well, this one here is this is a first because the show it aligned a little bit differently. COVID threw everything off, and things are now starting to get back to regular schedules. The Japan Pro, it's a 212 show, and I don't believe it always was that way. I think at one point it was mainly an open show, but they've since made it to a 212 show. Shout out to Hide. Hide is definitely responsible for making that happen. And when athletes come in and, they try and uplift other athletes, especially athletes that compete in a division that don't necessarily get as much light as open bodybuilding and classic physique. I love that. I would love for, me to continue something like that when my day has, come and gone. But shout outs to Hide for doing that. And, definitely shout outs to Mitsu for making this happen. You might not know Mitsu, but Mitsu's a good guy, and he's been trying to get me to come out to Japan Pro now for about 3 years. So normally I shut it down, Teddy. Like, I'm the guy that, oh, we're done competing? Okay, where's the food? But but we've had to take steps now to ensure that we're not going to mess up our digestive tract, because the rebound from that could be detrimental. You're talking about weeks and weeks of trying to correct your biome, and that's not fun. It's just too much time in the bathroom. So now, I'm playing it smart. I'm eating better post show, and I'm holding on to my look a lot longer. I think that's a smarter approach, because when I enter a contest prep, I'm that much closer to being ready. It's less strain on my body. But going forward, this lets me know, hey, you don't necessarily have to shut it down after the Olympia. You could still do it, and the way I feel right now, granted, yeah, I am tired, but my look is still there. So I could present it very well. And I think it's more than enough to win just about any show, with the exception of 3 guys entering that show.
And obviously we'll get into that. And obviously shout out Hide, who's on the podcast so many years when we were fully bodybuilding and truly, again, one of one. Loves the sport. Obviously, him and Iris are an amazing couple, amazing duo, amazing representatives of the sport of bodybuilding. I don't think anyone can say differently. And I mean, going to Japan is going to be. Have you ever been to Japan?
Dude, this is going. This is going to be the longest flight that I've ever been on. And I don't know how I'm going to handle it. I pray I don't end up like one of these crazy people on TMZ. But if that's the case, just knock me out like B.A. Baracus. You know what I'm saying? Just conk me on the back of the head, make me pass out, wake me up, and I'm, landed. But I've only been as far as California, which is like a 5-hour flight from New York. So it's not really comparable, because we're talking about legit a 14-hour flight. So I'm gonna have to find stuff to watch. I'm gonna be bored. I'll probably be the guy in the middle of the aisle doing push-ups and sit-ups and body weight squats, just to do something. But I am excited to go there, and I was hoping that in addition to Japan, I would have been able to do like a quick little circuit. So we were trying to get me out to Romania, and then also to do the Prague show, and we would leave from Prague and go to Japan. So it was going to be like my own little mini tour. However, things didn't work out according to plan. Japan was always a definite. So at the Olympia, we knew that we're going to Japan.
Okay, so this was set in stone. This is yeah. And I speak of flights. I went to Turkey, Istanbul, a year ago, and I came back with the worst food poisoning. And I'll leave it, PG. Well, I'll leave it G. I went to the bathroom more times than I can count, and that was one of them.
No.
That flight is being on a flight for more than even 3 hours. It's you gotta dig deep, and
yeah.
I was gonna say I definitely see you being the person to do the push-ups and going into the bathroom and doing some curls with whatever the hell is in there, and then obviously the Prague show. I mean, you talked about that, and man, that's going to be a competitive show as well. Obviously, we see one of the guys who you battle with all the time not going to be in the 212.
Yeah.
Did that kind of sway any opinion at all that he wasn't going to be in there, or was it still? Obviously, it's not going to happen, but did that kind of influence anything?
Not at all. Honestly, anytime I get to face somebody who has beat me, like I welcome it with open arms, because I'm still that guy. It's not that I'm bitter, but I want my damn turn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel as if I'm on point, I could rival anybody. And I say that with a lot of humility and, just not conceit. But I just know that on any given day, it is possible for anybody to lose. That's just the reality of life.
Yeah, and I meant that in obviously that aspect. Not that there's nothing that you're scared of. Obviously, I mean, these battles that you go toe to toe with Keon, Sean, and Angel are, I mean, it's neck and neck, in my personal
Yeah.
opinion. So I totally agree on that. Now, obviously, say obviously I truly believe that Japan will be yours, and I think everyone watching can agree. Looking at your physique, then what's next after Japan? Is it kind of just off season after that, or what's that all like?
Well, this is where it gets interesting because winning Japan would free up a lot of options. And number one option would be we get to do an open show and then diet down for 212 Olympia. So fingers crossed things, line up and we could do exactly that. If it doesn't work out that way, and I hate to even think that way, hate to even put that in the air, but we would definitely do a later show close towards the Olympia and try and get our qualifier there. But long story short is we would take some sort of break, which I really haven't gotten since 2021. So we've been actively competing since the end of COVID. Since the end of COVID, we've been at this thing, and it'd be nice to get a longer break than just 6 weeks. Give the body a real good chance to heal and correct itself.
100%, and the body obviously needs that. And before we talk about your kind of going to open for that temporary thing, obviously, we talked about the Prague. Clarita is now going into the open in that competition. I mean, what do you think? What do you think the results will be with Martin, Clarita, and now Cbum all in the open? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So, with all due respect, Martin looks crazy. Like honestly, Martin is the hype. Shout outs to Martin. I got to meet him in New York this year, and I was actually taken aback because I'm like, dude, you brought it, man. So he's got the freak shape and crazy insertions that just make everything more round. Everything just pops on him. Sean's gonna do what Sean does. Sean's gonna freak everybody out. Chris, honestly, I gotta say this is his show to lose. Even though he hasn't done an open bodybuilding show, in my opinion, again, with all due respect to everybody in the lineup, and this is what I said as soon as I saw the announcement. He is the only person that could challenge Samson right now. Yeah, I know it's a big, bold statement and it carries a lot of weight, but structurally, aesthetics, I think he has enough. He might not be as massive, but he has the right lines to challenge any Mr. Olympia right now.
Well, I know tomorrow's clip will be on TikTok, Instagram Reels, and all that. But at the same time, Kerrith, I wasn't laughing at you because I thought it was funny. I'm laughing at you because I'm laughing at it because I can also see it. That's the scary part. The dude is so damn gifted.
Yeah.
Obviously, not even just how classy he is as a person, but obviously as a bodybuilder. I mean, genetics are there. Like we've really, I mean, he's one of one.
And look, 10 pounds on his frame only made him look better. It only made him look better. So it's like when you look at that, it's like, all right, well, if 10 pounds looks better, it's bodybuilding, right? What does 15 pounds look like? What does 20 pounds look like? Until you get to the point where it's like, all right, we got to dial it back. Or maybe his ceiling is just so damn high, we don't even get to see, 25 pounds is too much. Maybe 25 pounds is just enough. And he becomes, a reigning Mr. Olympia for the next foreseeable future. We don't know. But all I could say is if you want to make the Mr. Olympia show interesting, more interesting than it was this year, Cbum wins the show. He challenges Samson for the title next year.
That would bring. I not only would everyone want to see it. I mean, it'd be so great for the sport of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Obviously, Samson's a competitor in his own and truly deserved it this year. And then Chris Bumstead, obviously a champion 6-time in his own division. And we've obviously seen people like the man right there go from that
Yep.
212 and win the Open. Not the classic 212, but in terms that you can do class switches and it's still possible to win is what I was kind of getting at. And I mean, man, that is crazy.
So,
he's truly.
so here's my thing, right? Listen, I'm just an athlete, but I think if it's fair for Derek to get a special invite, a 6-time reigning champ, in my opinion, is more than deserving of a special invite. You know, listen, I totally get it. I get it. It's to be earned. It's not to be given. But damn, 6 wins is earning it, bro. You know, I personally think that having him do the Romania show is great for fans because we all want to see it. But win or lose, give that man an invite. He deserves it. He deserves it. And listen, I'm not gonna sit here and say like, yo, I'm Bumstead's biggest fan. I'm just a fan of the athlete and what he brings to the sport. He makes the sport very relevant in all areas. You know what I mean? He takes it from social media to supplements to actually competing on stage and makes all those areas pop. You know, not a lot of athletes can say they do the same.
And like you talked about, Kerrith, you're a fan of the sport. You're a competitor of the sport. And obviously, as the sport wins, so do you. I mean, that's just how it works. More money comes in, more eyes equals more money. And obviously, there's people who are bringing attention to that. And obviously, name one is going to be Chris Bumstead. I mean, with biggest following, people come to watch him.
Yeah.
But also, it speaks. I think we get lost in the fact that I'm not going to just glaze Chris Bumstead, but the fact that this dude is also truly, from what I've heard from everyone, a gem of a human being. A gem of a human being.
I can't speak to that because I've never actually spoken to Chris.
Mhm.
I have met Ian on a couple of occasions, and Ian and I have, you know, we've spoken. And if he's anything like Ian is, he's got to be a good dude, you know. So, you know, birds of a feather flock together, you know.
Yeah. Birds of a feather flock together, and you know, yeah, and I'm still kind of want to look at this Olympia. Obviously, you know, what was kind of the feedback that judges gave you? Obviously, again, a really close show between you four, and just everyone. You brought it. Everyone brought it. What was the feedback, Kerrith, the judges gave to you this, you know, show? Yeah, what was that Tyler and all them gave you?
Well, what I got from everybody outside of Tyler, when Tyler did the recap, it kind of shed a new light on things. And what he said was true. It's something that I have to work on. You know, I got comfortable on stage, and you can't get comfortable on stage. That's an issue. So when you get comfortable on stage, you start doing little stupid shit like letting your stomach drop, you know, and, you know, showing yourself from angles that you necessarily shouldn't be showing yourself from. And that's exactly what happened on stage. But overall, my conditioning was good. It could have been tighter. Yes, you know, as usual, I come back better at the night show. But unfortunately, the night show wasn't judged. However, going into the Japan show, this is almost like my shot at redemption. And it's not a shot at redemption for the judges, but more so myself. I want to end the season on a good note. So I want to know that, hey, you know, it's okay to mess up, learn from your mistakes, get better because of it.
Yeah, and that's why you know, and I always give kudos to Kerrith because that's why I respect him as a human being because he, you know, it takes a real person to go, hey, I messed up, time to become better, and you learn from mistakes, the better you become, and that's going to be
100%.
a scary Kerrith Bajjo is all I'll say, ladies and gentlemen. Now, obviously, I know your mental strength is up there with some of the best athletes in the world. How do you kind of stay mentally motivated to push for kind of an even higher placement when you're already among the best?
Honestly, like, it's so crazy that you asked me this question because I just mentioned it to one of my clients this morning. It's remembering your why, Teddy. And I know it sounds corny, it sounds generic, but I get into the gym sometimes and you get into a rut, you know, and it's like I don't even want to be here right now sometimes, you know? But I find that in the right environment, like if I'm at a gym and the gym is empty, it's probably like me, the person working the counter, and the old guy that's on the treadmill. Those environments right there help me to thrive because I'm like, why am I here? And then it's like a light bulb just goes on, and I'm like, okay, that's why. I start replaying the mistakes. I don't replay the good parts. I start replaying the mistakes. How can I accentuate this? How can I make sure that this doesn't happen again? So it's all refinement, refinement, refinement after I remember my why.
Yeah, the why is crucial. Couldn't have
Yeah. I hate saying it because it sounds so cliche, but man, that is just so true.
yeah.
And then I think about little things like, well, I know this makes my mother proud. I know this makes my father proud, my family proud to see me doing these things and really getting these experiences that very few individuals get. And when I think of them and them telling me how lucky I am to be in this situation, it's almost like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to take this moment for granted, or are you going to try and milk it for what it's worth? You know? So the truth is, man, capitalize on all your opportunities because you might not get them again. Shit, I can walk outside right now, trip, break a leg. Knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But it's those little things that really drive me. So I don't think that that's ever going to stop. Whether it's bodybuilding, whether I'm professional hopscotch, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter, dude. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to learn from my mistakes, and I'm going to try to be the best version of myself in those capacities.
And then yeah, that mindset's crucial for why. Obviously, who are you fighting for when you're doing whatever it be for bodybuilding on that stage, competing,
Yep.
uh, waking up early, eating those meals, doing the cardio. And for me, I've always kind of felt that as well, not for bodybuilding, just in life in general. Why am I, what is this podcast purpose for? And I remember we started 2 years ago with, no one, we weren't a no one knew us. And then it's like now you just got to live in the moment as well. I think that's what I learned to realize, kind of adding on to what you said. And living in the moment is so important. Now, what were the emotions that went through your head when you did hear, fourth place, Kerrith Bajjo? What was your first thought?
So the first thought was, damn, again? Because you always want to do one better at least.
Mhm.
But I understood who my competition was. I read the room and I saw where it was going. And I was happy with my fourth place. Again, it's three guys in the world in my respective division that can beat me, that could say, I had your number on that day. It sucks that they get to say I had it in 2023 and 2024, but again, learning experiences, right? So now 2025, I can't let that happen again. The man in me, this is where it becomes a prideful thing. The pride in me won't allow that to happen again. So I love those guys. They're great, phenomenal athletes, phenomenal talents. That cannot happen again.
And the only person that we've had Keon on the podcast twice, we're trying to get him on a third time. So Keon, if you're watching, we'd love to make it a third time as well for you too, sir. But obviously, like you said, and again, pinpointing that thing on this day. I like how you mentioned that, because on this day, it's a sport where every day is different, and that's why I love the sport, because it can change in such a heartbeat in a sense. And
It could change within minutes. Like I've seen guys legit go to the bathroom, come back, and be a complete different person. You know, it's that finite. So it's a matter of minutes. It's a matter of minutes. You could see a guy go out on stage, do a comparison round, and then he gets backstage, and you're like, well, how didn't you get first call outs? Look at you. It just so happens that his peak didn't happen at the right time. So you're talking about grasping at straws, and that's what a lot of these, I hate to call them armchair, bodybuilders, don't understand. But I got to say, it's the novice mind that doesn't understand, because they only see it on a foreign screen. They're not there in real life. They haven't gone through the processes. They haven't suffered like an athlete suffers to really have positive contribution to an argument as to how somebody looks, and that right there is something that I think needs to be taught. Sorry, I'm rambling right now, but
I agree.
Yeah, it gets lost on a lot of individuals because it's like, all right, well, I see it on the screen. This is bodybuilding. This guy looks like this. They don't understand that a guy might not necessarily be in a pose. He could be setting it up. It's just that's when the photographer got it. And that's the thing that kind of irks me a little bit. People think a photo is absolute. It's not. There's like 3 shows that happen in every single show. You have the photos, you have the video, and then you have to be there in person. So if you can be there in person, it supersedes the other 2. Right. So I encourage people that don't know a lot about bodybuilding, get out there, get to your local shows, get to see what it's really about. That way we can contribute positively to somebody's look. Not just because this guy's your favorite, right? All right, sorry. Anyhow, Teddy, I'm rambling.
No, I totally agree on everything you said. I was listening to every word, and kind of diving, I guess, into my next topic. What did you learn about yourself in this prep? Obviously, you talked about that stubbornness aspect, but what else did you learn about yourself in prep? If you mind sharing any kind of words or affirmations that you kind of had this prep this season, anything of that nature?
Well, a lifelong affirmation, I should say an affirmation that I've had since I started bodybuilding is I do this like I have no choice. But what I did learn about myself is, I'm not old. Don't get my words twisted. Not you. I'm just talking to the general population. But I did learn that I am aging. So I have to treat my body with a little bit more respect than I used to. I can't be as foolhardy as I once was. My lifts now are, more controlled. Everything is we're trying to be snipers, like we don't want to waste bullets. So you have to pinpoint everything. You have to dial everything in. And I've gotten a lot better at that over this past year. So having respect for my body, allowing things to heal, allowing things to come to me instead of chasing them. You know what I mean? Those are all things that I'd say not necessarily mastered this year, but man, I got a hell of a grasp on them.
Yeah. And obviously hindsight's 2020. Is there anything you know, looking back at the Mr. Olympia, you would have done differently in this prep, or do you think everything happened for a reason? It's looking to the next step. I mean, is there anything in that?
There's always that one thing that we think would have been the deciding factor. It's never just one thing. It's a body of work. So there's the series of events that usually add up to, the overall picture. One brushstroke isn't going to make a picture, right? You need several to actually create an image. So the same goes for bodybuilding. It's not going to be one deciding factor unless I've been told it's a diuretic or a girlfriend. Those are the 2 things that could ruin a bodybuilder. But at the end of the day, I would like to say there was one thing there's not, and if I'm going to sit here and nitpick at everything, then we're going to go back to the beginning of prep when I'm like, I should have had, my salt measured in the off season,
Yeah. No, Now, really the final topic, obviously the 2024 Mr. Olympia 60th anniversary. Did you see a big turnout there? What was that all like?
Dude, the show was so big, like it was so huge. Personally, like, listen, this was the show that made me like Vegas.
Yeah.
Before I had kind of like a stand backish thing towards Vegas because there's not enough open windows in Vegas for me.
Yeah.
We're in the Northeast, Teddy, so we like that clean, crisp Northeast air. So you're still considered Northeast, right? You're a mid-Atlantic type of area.
Cool.
Okay. All right. But yeah, man, we like open windows, open doors, let the wind blow through. In Vegas, it's all recycled AC. So this year made me completely forget about that. I just drank it all in because there was so much, like it was hyper stimulated. There was everything going on at the same time, and I was a part of it. So having that experience was damn near priceless, and I mean, kudos to Dan Solomon, Jake Wood, Steve Weinberger, Tyler Mannion, Jim Mannion, J.M. Mannion for putting on a hell of a show. I mean, I'm not saying that because I was in it, but as a bodybuilding fan, I would have loved to be in the crowd watching this.
Wow.
Getting to be at the meet and greet was something special because, I saw people from all likes of life, all different places on the planet. I met people from Tasmania. Yeah, I completely
Yes.
exactly. I completely forgot Tasmania was a real place. You know, so when you have people like that come out, I had a guy come up to me and tell me straight up, listen, my girlfriend didn't want to come. I came here by myself to see you. You know, and I'm just like, that's crazy, dude. I'm like, where are you from? He's like, Miami. I'm like, dude, you bought a plane ticket from Miami to come out here to see little old me? He's like, that's how much I love the sport and respect what you do. And honestly, if I wasn't already dehydrated, bro, I probably would have shed a tear. Yeah, it was deep.
It was deep, and obviously, you are an inspiration to many, and truly a true bodybuilder, real bodybuilder, whatever you want to call it. And I
Thank you,
always,
man.
and obviously, you're going to kill it in Japan, and what goes next is obviously in your control, and you know what to do. You have a great coach, a great support team, and wishing you all the best, knowing you what you will do and what you can accomplish. Now, before we go, are you working with any new companies? I saw you were working with a new company, right?
No, just new coach. Just it's me and Neil. So Y3T. And as far as companies go, I don't have any sponsors, guys. Like nothing's tied down. But I will say this: one of the companies that stuck by me thick and thin, big colossal shout out to Astroflave. It's
Yes.
a company out of New Jersey,
Yeah, we had that.
and when I tell you their products are second to none, I mean it. I stand on that. Some of the best supplements that I've taken since not even bodybuilding, just as an athlete. Some of the best supplements on the market, period. So kudos to Brian and Brady.
Yep.
Dude, you guys are killing it. And when I tell you, like, they don't miss. Everything that they have is effective. It's not smoke. It's not corn syrup. It's good for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
huge shout outs to them, but I am not signed to them. Although, these guys check for me, like they look out for me. And when I tell you they've been some of my biggest supporters all this year, I want to say thank them publicly.
Shout out them. We had a Brian on the podcast again, 101. And guys, speaking of 101, Kerrith Bajjo, 101 Apex Predator. Guys,
Hey,
all of Kerrith's social medias will be in the bio. Make sure you check that out. Follow the Apex Predator. And as always, guys, this is the truth. This is the man. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Until next time, the Apex Predator and the Underdog out. Hey.